It is perhaps the most absurd of the many parallels between the current conflict in Iraq and the war in Vietnam. The U.S. military spying on American citizens who are doing nothing more than peacefully lodging protest. In our fourth story on the countdown, a year after we first learned of the existence of a secret Pentagon database logging the efforts of such threats to democracy as a Quaker educational meeting in Florida, we're learning more tonight about who specifically was targeted and what other government agencies may have helped with the surveillance. Senior investigative correspondent Lisa Myers has our report.
At universities across the country, an anti-war group called Veterans for Peace has staged protests by setting up crosses for soldiers killed in Iraq. In New Mexico last year, the local paper described the event as a display of honor. But this previously secret Pentagon intelligence report labeled that same event a threat to military facilities. The report lists the group's upcoming events and warns that while it's a peaceful organization, there is potential future protest could become violent.
No, we're not a threat to military installations. We're not trying to blow anything up or anything of that nature.
The leader of Veterans for Peace is a former Army captain whose son recently returned from Iraq.
It angers me that the rights that I'm supposed to be protecting, I can't exercise without the government looking at me and calling me an enemy.
Pentagon documents obtained by the ACLU provide new details on how even Quakers and churches came to be labeled threats worthy of the attention of the military.
And what's clear is that there's a proliferation of surveillance and targeting of Americans who have done nothing wrong other than disagree with the government.
The documents also suggest for the first time that agents of the Department of Homeland Security played a role in monitoring anti-war activities. A DHS spokesman says agents merely disseminated public information about public events that could impact federal buildings. The Pentagon admits it made a mistake in collecting information on 186 anti-war protests, but claims the problem has been fixed. That isn't good enough for Senate Democrats.
I fully intend to ask what's in those data banks because many of them go way beyond any legitimate needs for our security.
Congress wants to know not just what data was collected, but why and how it was to be used. Lisa Myers, NBC News, Washington.
Well, you know, if your government is not allowed